Someone is watching me. I don't know where to start. I live on my family's 250-acre property. Being a farm, it's pretty open with rolling fields surrounding my home, except to the left of my house where there's a small 2-acre woods. It took me a while to check it out, even though growing up I was always running through the woods wherever we lived. Since this particular woods was so thick, I never spent much time in it. But one day, I decided to explore. I grabbed my machete, knowing it would be a slow trek, cutting down various plants and vines out of my way. I made a complete circle around the outside of the woods instead of going through the center, which was full of vines and poison ivy. I had almost made it back to my starting point until I was stopped in my tracks. Sitting in front of me in a small clearing was an old, dirty mattress. I remember audibly saying, "What the fuck?" when I got close enough to see it. Even worse, next to the mattress were two things: an old stuffed rabbit doll and a bowl full of water. While it obviously creeped me out, being alone in the woods with nothing but a now dull machete, I was curious. Eventually, I got closer and closer, almost chuckling at my reaction to what, albeit creepy, looked abandoned. Still, something seemed off, and I could feel a pit growing in my stomach. That's when I looked up. I had been so focused on the mattress itself that I didn't even notice it was pointed directly toward my house. The weeds in front of the mattress had been lightly trimmed, not enough to notice any difference against the thick backdrop of the woods, but just enough to see my home. I was feeling uneasy and decided it was best not to dwell on it too long. Probably just a spot some teenagers used to hang out on an old mattress, I thought to myself, trying to ignore the multitude of questions flowing through my mind. Why would someone clear the weeds to have a direct view of my house? Why wouldn't someone throw the mattress away? Why put it in the woods, right on the edge? All these questions were an obvious distraction to the thought that was slowly creeping into my subconscious. Is someone watching me? By the time I got back to my house, I was almost laughing at myself for the stupidity of it. You really think you're interesting enough for someone to watch you? What are the chances someone is actually watching me? Eventually, the mattress left my mind as I got distracted watching TV. Still, I never felt completely comfortable knowing that the old, dirty mattress was just sitting in the woods next to my home. Every day when I got home from work, I would look toward the woods in passing, and each time I got an uneasy feeling. Being on a farm in the middle of nowhere, it's almost pitch black at night. Except for the light on my front porch that's turned on by a motion sensor, you have to get pretty close for it to activate. One night, after getting home late from work, I got out of my truck and grabbed my keys to lock it. That's when I saw it. As my headlights illuminated the woods for a split second, two dots reflected back toward me. They almost looked like eyes, but they were too big and spread apart to be a person's eyes. I convinced myself I was seeing things. When I clicked the lock button again, my headlights illuminated the woods once more, and I saw nothing. I went inside, feeling a little better, letting the thoughts slowly fade from my mind. If only I had known what I know now, maybe I wouldn't have been so calm. I should have called the cops, but can you blame me? If there really was someone there, they would have no doubt been gone the moment they saw a cop car pull up, and all that would have been found was an old mattress in the woods. While certainly creepy, I doubt the police would have given any serious thought to it. I should have done something, anything, because no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get the idea out of my head. Someone was watching me from the woods, but I would never be able to confirm it. The moment I went to investigate, the person could have run upon seeing me coming. I wish I would have thought of something, but I tried my best to just ignore it. A few months passed, and the idea that someone was watching me had escaped my mind. At some point, my friend Ryan, who had been living with me, decided to make a dirt bike track through the woods. I showed him the mattress one day while we were walking through, and he just laughed. For some reason, Ryan didn't share the same feelings I had toward the mattress. We grabbed an old machine from the barn with a bucket on the front and lifted the mattress into it. We took it back to the barn and threw it away in the dumpster. I remember feeling a sense of relief as we left it there. Ryan slowly worked on the track, going back and forth between the machine and his dirt bike, tweaking every turn, jump, and straightaway until, after a few months, he had finished what actually turned out to be a pretty nice and fun track. Running through the woods, it had a few twists and turns going around trees and clearings he had made with the old tractor. Hearing him ride around on his bike, then the sound of the old diesel engine starting up, had grown so familiar to me on the weekends that I almost forgot the sounds were even happening. God, how I miss those sounds. Hey, I'm gonna go work on the track. I think I'm almost finished with it. It's going to be awesome. Ryan said on another Saturday morning. I had gotten so used to him disappearing into the woods weekend after weekend that it had almost become second nature. So much so that I didn't even notice as 11 p.m. rolled around that I hadn't seen Ryan in a while. I didn't even realize that the noise I had grown so accustomed to was also missing. I stepped outside into a silent, chilly night to check on where Ryan had gone. His truck was still parked next to the house, as were mine and my girlfriend's vehicles. The old tractor was still sitting behind the house, just in front of the opening that led into the woods, following the track. It looked like a deep, dark abyss under the faint light of the moon. I knew going in there alone at this time of night was the last thing I was going to do, so I resorted to every other option I could think of. I checked the barn where we kept the old tractors and found nothing but a calm breeze and the crickets singing in the night. I checked the other houses on the property, hoping he had maybe gone over to one of them. Still, I found no sign of Ryan or his dirt bike. I tried calling his phone a few more times before giving up. After hearing his voicemail one last time, I knew there was only one thing left to do. So, I grabbed the only flashlight I could find, one of those old-style bulb flashlights that barely brightens anything and casts everything in a yellow tint. After taking a few deep breaths, desperately trying to think of anywhere else Ryan could be, I made my way toward the deep, dark, tunnel-like opening that led into the woods. I walked the entire layout of the track for what felt like an eternity. Even though it was only 45 minutes. I almost started to feel relieved that I could walk out of this dark, seemingly endless forest and think of somewhere else to find him. Still, I had to look one last time. As I rounded the third pin turn, something caught my eye. Just past the turn, lying on its side in the weeds, I saw something red. My heart dropped as ideas ran through my head. What if he's out there hurt? What if he had been waiting for hours, injured, with broken bones? Or worse, what if it was too late? I pushed the thoughts aside and moved closer to the bike, hoping to find a possibly injured but alive friend. What I found was, in a weird way, much worse. Lying on its side was Ryan's dirt bike, with the same stickers he had put all over it. But no Ryan. I searched everywhere, hoping he had maybe crawled back toward the house, but I couldn't find a single sign of him. Not in the woods, not near my home, not anywhere. It was almost like he had vanished. Against my better judgment, I went back into the woods, hoping to find some clue. And while I found something, it didn't make me feel any better, or answer the biggest question running through my mind. Where the hell are you, Ryan? As I got closer to the bike, it looked dirty, as expected. But I was being careful not to move it. When I looked closely at the side facing the ground, I noticed something. Sticking out of the back tire was a small piece of metal. Soon I realized it was a nail. But then I kept looking. There were maybe 15 or 20 nails sticking out of the back tire, Far too many for it to be a coincidence. I checked the front tire and found the same thing, 20 or so nails. Obviously, something had happened here, but I wasn't going to be the one to find out what. I ran out of the woods as fast as I could before calling 911. The police showed up maybe 15 minutes later. That's one positive to living in a small town. The cops are never too far away. They searched the woods, brought out K9 units, everything. But they couldn't find a single sign of Ryan anywhere. We'll open a missing persons investigation in the morning, but for now, try to get some sleep. We'll find your friends soon. I'm sure of it, said Officer Langley, the first cop to show up on the scene and the last to leave. His words were almost comforting in a way, like we might actually find Ryan, wherever he may be. A few months passed and Ryan was still missing. The police search had slowly faded from everyone's mind, and I felt Ryan may soon join all the other missing people who were never found. Every few weeks, under the bright Florida sun, I would walk around the track. It was almost meditative for me. Maybe I thought I'd find something to lead me to Ryan, but that never happened. By this time, the track had slightly overgrown with fresh green weeds, except for the small trail I left behind me. I missed Ryan, but I knew I couldn't dwell on it forever. In the back of my mind, I thought I would never know what really happened that day until I saw it. Lying in those damned woods, on the ground just off what now resembled a walking trail, was that old, dirty, fucking mattress. The feeling I got this time was almost revolting. I know we threw that mattress away. How the hell could it be back in the woods? Why did it take so long to show up again? By now, it should be buried deep under piles of garbage. I don't know what to do. I just had to sit down and write everything down the best I could remember it. I don't know if I'll ever post this, but I can't shake this uneasy feeling, no matter what I try. I wrote this a few weeks ago. I never thought it would see the light of day, but things have gotten so much worse. I can't explain it right now, but I knew that before I explain what is happening right now, I'd need to give some backstory. I'll update as soon as I can.